So, so we'll take your testimony first, and after that, Professor Greenstreet would make her statement, but not under oath.
I,
Nana Kwabena Brampa Mensah,
do hereby swear by the Bible
do hereby swear by the Bible
that the evidence I shall give before the Commission of Inquiry
that the evidence I shall give before the Commission of Inquiry
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and
nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Please be reminded that by the oath you have taken, you have made a promise to speak the truth, and the failure to do so constitutes an offense for which you be liable to punishment.
I agree.
You are welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Is it okay to call you Nana?
Yes, please.
Very well. Nana, will you, for the purposes of the record, repeat your full name to the Commission?
I am Nana Kwabena Brampa Mensah.
Nana, what do you do by way of profession?
I'm a researcher with the Ghana Center for Democratic Development and a staff at the Kodio Secretariat.
Very well. So then you are representing Kodeo, am I right?
Yes, please.
Very well. Now, on the 31st of January 2019, I understand Kodeo observed the by-election at Ayawaso West Wogon constituency. Is that the case?
Yes, you're right.
And I also understand that your findings culminated in a report. Is that the case?
Yes, our findings culminated in interim press releases, but the final report is not completed yet.
Do we have copies of the interim reports to tender?
Yes, please. My Lord, in fact, we have copies of our observation reports, not only on this election, but other experiences that we had to tender and pack in envelopes, if that would be accepted.
Very well.
Yeah.
Nana Brampa.
Yes, please.
Your name comes easily because of the Abrampa. We need a clarification on a particular incident. According to the Kodeo report, the interim report I mean, there was a particular incident at the prison's polling station where a police officer was assaulted for directing a national security operative as to where to sit. Is that the case?
Yes, please. That's the case.
Now, we have had the director of Electoral Commission here who says that incident did not happen. What have you got to say? What actually happened?
Well, thank you, my Lord. What happened, according to the account from our observer at that polling station, was that there were different types of security operatives there. There were those in uniform, official uniforms, and others who were not wearing official uniforms but had accreditation tags that were inscribed as NSCS also there. Those people were sitting in the inner perimeter of the electoral area or the polling center, whilst the uniformed security operatives were sitting a bit distant from the polling center. So one of the uniformed police officers called the other officers to ask them who they were, and also asked him to stand a bit far from when the polling was taking place. So he obliged, but not too long, a group of people in similar dress came in a pickup and went straight to the uniformed police officer to ask why he was questioning their colleague. And that started the misunderstanding between them.
Was it a mere misunderstanding or it resulted in an assault?
From the account from our observer, it caused commotion in the area at the polling center to the extent that some of the people started running away. So she did not stand till what happened afterwards. But so when he saw there was tension there and people started running away, she also took cover.
So is it a case that she did not witness any specific assault on a police officer?
No, from what she told us, there were no physical blows between them. There were no physical assaults on the police officer. But when the melee started, when the people, the reinforcement as I called, the people who came on the behalf of their colleagues started exchanging words with the police officer, he left the place.
Now, there is a picture around showing a certain police officer with a deep cut to a spot under his eyes. And the narrative is that that is the officer your report refers to. Do you agree or disagree to that?
I can't confirm that since our reporter did not attach any picture and since I've not seen that picture in circulation.
Thank you, Mr. Abrampa. Mr. Chairman, your witness.
Thank you. Nana.
Yes, my lord.
Yeah, I don't have any questions for you. Thank you very much for the clarification which you have brought to our attention. That will be all for now. So you may leave or you may sit next to Professor Greenstreet while she makes a statement. Can you hand over the mic to her? Professor Greenstreet, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
No, you can sit.
My statement is just all about the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers. This coalition, Mr. Commissioner, is an independent.
Professor Miranda Greenstreet, a former director at the University of Ghana, making an appearance, making a statement before the Commission of Inquiry. We apologize, we've lost her sound there, but we will go back. Before her, though, CODEO confirming some of its findings in the reports that was heavily disputed by the Electoral Commissioner herself. But this issue about somebody assaulted, a police officer assaulted, and quickly we will go back to the Commission. We'll come back and continue this conversation in the studio.
The coalition at the time welcomed 22 member organizations. Currently, the membership is some 42. Now, I'm giving you this background for you to understand what CODEO is all about. And this organization is made up of professional bodies, faith-based organizations, civil society organizations, and so on and so forth. And it includes the Ghana National Association of Teachers, the Ghana Bar Association, the Association of Midwives Council, and the Association of Nurses Council, the Christian Council of Ghana, the Office of the Chief Imam, some 42 organizations. And I think we have the list of the organizations here. And all this was formed, as I said, in the year 2000 under the auspices of CDD Ghana. So why do we need this? The objectives of the coalition is to help promote peaceful, transparent, credible election.
And we've lost sound there again. Whilst we work on that, Professor Miranda Greenstreet's talking about the formation of CODEO, the election observer. And Kojo, you were talking about why it is important for her to make this statement before the commission today.
Use a new methodology called the parallel vote tabulation, PVT, in its observation. When my colleagues come to give you their report, you can ask questions about this. But this is what CODEO has been doing, continuously improving the electoral scene, the electoral cycle, so that elections in Ghana should not become a make or break moment when we are all scared, when we are all running hell in the system. CODEO not only has been doing this for Ghana, but the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers has also been sharing its experience with our West African countries, and not just them. So the experience and ideas have been shared with Nigeria, with Sierra Leone, with Liberia, even as far away as Zambia. So the coalition is also trying as much as possible to build confidence in the electoral system, not just in Ghana, but also around Africa. Currently, 11 Anglophone and Francophone countries are part of a network whose secretariat is at the Ghana Democratic, CDD Ghana. In other words, CODEO forms the secretariat through CDD for this organization called the West African Observer Election Network. CODEO is also a member of the Global Election Network. So CODEO has been working not just in Ghana, but in the sub-region and beyond. As I said, when the by-election was going to be held, CODEO decided that since this is a by-election, we should not have to have too many observers. Consequently, the observers that were used with the Wagon by-election on the 31st of January were old, experienced CODEO observers, as well as some members of the advisory board. I, for one, was one of the observers. And the reason I agreed to be an observer is that on this occasion, I wasn't going to be in the office or at our command center, as we call it. I'm not going to explain all that because I don't want to take up too much of the valuable time of the commissioners. But when you are at the command center or in the office, information is relayed to you during the course of the election day. Normally, at a full general election, we would have given a midday election report of what transpired. But since it's a by-election, this doesn't have to be done. And I wanted to be an observer because I did not want to be in the office. I had told my colleagues that since I'm suffering from failing vision, I no longer wish to be the chair of the coalition. The coalition, therefore, in August, I informed them. But at that time, the co-chair, who was Justice VCRAC Crab, was alive, and I had said, well, I'm leaving because of this reason. Soon after that, unfortunately, he passed on. And after his death, it became difficult for me just to leave immediately. Consequently, I'm still around until we are able to sort ourselves out and have others to chair the coalition. Consequently, on the 31st of January, I was not in the office as I normally would have been. I was also observing. And I'm not going to talk about my observation because it will be part of the process which will be discussed by my colleagues. But I observed as well and saw some of the things which happened. But I don't want to go into that because that is not part of the opening statement. But on the 30th of January, because the by-election was going to be on the 31st, we had a training session. Normally, the training session for Cordeo observers are on different levels. We have training for regional observers, constituency observers, and then district observers and election day observers, all dealing with the observation for different periods. But for the election day observers, we only need a day for the election. Consequently, this was done on the 30th of January before the observation came on, before the by-election came on the following day. And Cordeo observers are highly trained commissioners. They are highly trained because we do not know them personally. What we do is to ask our member organizations to volunteer their members. When the members come and they are trained, what is done at the end of it is for them to take a pledge of neutrality, that we don't stop you from voting for whichever party you wish to vote for. But as an observer, you have to be impartial and non-partisan. The whole idea of Cordeo's activities rests on non-partisan, independent election observation. And we have been doing this to date. So how did an old woman like me get into Cordeo? In 1994, 95, I'm running up. 94, 95, the Ghana Bar Association set up an a body called the Ghana Legal Literacy and Resource Foundation. And they invited, it was under Justice Kingsley Nyina, and they invited me to be a member. So we observed the 1996 elections with the assistance of Danida. So when in 2000 the coalition was formed, they asked me to represent them, not just myself, but others as well. And that body was made up of people like Mr. Samoku Jato, Mrs. Ekuya Kwenye here, Professor Ekuya Kwenye here, what's his name, Nene Amegache, and others. But you can check up if you wish, because they also wanted to observe the elections of 96. It wasn't such a thorough observation as we do now without any checklists. You go around to see that there should be no ballot snatching or stuffing of ballot boxes and things like that. That's how I came in, Mr. Commissioners. And therefore, since then, we've been doing our best. And I think Cordeo has improved dramatically the electoral scene of Ghana. But in spite of that, there are a few people who don't know what Cordeo is all about. And that is why I'm making this preliminary statement, that the whole idea is to bring credibility to Ghanaian elections, to bring about peace, to bring about transparency, and to make sure that Ghana has a relatively peaceful time during our elections, and that our elections is not a make or break of no movement. Another reason why I also struggled on was because I'm a member of the International Center for Parliamentary Studies, which more or less judges elections worldwide. And they were coming here to come and have a symposium and the award ceremony. So I had to be around. And luckily, the Electoral Commission agreed to assist. They were busy at the time with the referendum, so I asked the CDD to co-host the organization. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I have to be careful that I'm not stopped from talking. So with these few words, I have to say a big thank you to you for allowing me to deviate from the by-election and to more or less state exactly what Cordeo is all about. So thank you very much indeed for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Greenstreet. Because of the respect we have for you, I would never have attempted to stop you from talking. We want to thank you for educating us and the general public about the functions and activities of Cordeo I mean, some of us are quite familiar with your activities, although you have given us more details about the activities of the coalition. And we are aware that the composition of the coalition consists of distinguished personalities like you and many others. I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate you for the work you are doing, particularly you in particular, for the consistency, the persistence, and in continuing your contribution to the coalition. So thank you very much for your statement. We'll now invite a representative of CDD to tender the CDD report.
My Lord, we've already tendered to the Secretariat.
The CDD report is already included?
Yes, please. So if I can go through the list of reports we've submitted. We have the cordial opening remarks, as Prof. Greenstreet has said, cordial close of poll statement on the Ayawaso West Wagon constituency by-election, a list of some polling stations where cordial observers saw max security operatives during the Ayawaso West Wagon by-election, list of polling stations where cordial observers visited and observed the Ayawaso West Wagon by-election, cordial setting the record straight, statements regarding the Electoral Commission statement on cordial's observation findings, cordial observers' account of incidents at Baoleshi area on January 31st, 2019, cordial observers' account of incidents at polling station at the prison's compound, Roman Ridge, cordial 2012 BVR, that's biometric verification reports, cordial 2012 post-election review papers, cordial 2012 final observation report, cordial 208 final report, cordial 2016 final observation report, cordial 204 observation report, cordial fact sheet, 3 copies, cordial close of poll statement on the Talensi constituency by-election, 2 copies of that, cordial regional roundtable on the menace of political party vigilantism in the reports from the Ashanti, Volta, Eastern, Upper East, Central, on all the 10 regions. Elections policy briefs that we've done on the vigilante. 1 is political party vigilantism, that without a growing fox worth killing before it mutates into a monster. 2, the deployment and vandalization of political party posters, the case of Ghana's 2012 elections. Cordial stakeholder review workshop on Ghana's 2016 presidential and general elections. So 17 separate reports and appendices have been submitted, my Lord.
Thank you very much. Even though it's a long list, we'll endeavor to read each and every one of them because most of them border on the issues that we are looking at.
Well, this is some international awards that have also been awarded. Yeah, so can all stand there.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you.
Thank you, my Lord.
You may leave now.
Kwabena Brampo, a researcher at the CDD and officer at Codeo, finishing off his testimony before the Commission of Inquiry, the Justice Emil Short Commission of Inquiry. Before that, we heard from Professor Miranda Greenstreet, a former director at the University of Ghana. She appeared on behalf of Codeo, not to testify, but to make a statement. She took the opportunity, Codeo were talking about, to educate us about Codeo, the election observer group Codeo. But it's interesting, I want us to cross-check something very quickly, the clarification given by Nana Kwabena Abrampa on the issue of a police officer who was allegedly assaulted. Now, we want to go back, attacked. We want to go back to the close of poll statement that was issued on the 31st January 2019, signed by Albert Ahin, National Coordinator, Codeo. There's a point in here which has been further clarified. That was the point of contention when the EC also issued its statement. So I would read that to you. It says, some non-uniformed security operatives displayed lack of understanding of the electoral rules and regulations at the prison's GHS at Roman Ridge For instance, security operatives who claim to be national security operatives position themselves next to polling officials, and when a stationed uniformed police officer alerted them to move away from poll officials, a pickup full of many more of the so-called security operatives descended on the police officer and attacked him for doing legitimate work. Could you actually run us through the reaction that came from the Electoral Commission?
That's right, and that reaction was dated, well, actually it was signed by Mrs. Jean Mensah. Don't see a date. However, it addressed that particular allegation as follows. The Commission wishes to state that the alleged attack on the police officer by national security personnel, as stated in CODEO's report, is untrue. The Commission's checks from its election officials, i.e. the presiding officer and the district electoral officer, proves contrary to CODEO's observation. Now, as we know, on Wednesday, the 6th of February, CODEO then responded to the response of the Electoral Commission, and they again spoke on this matter of the alleged attack on a police officer, and this is what CODEO said in this rebuttal. Regarding the incident at a polling station at the prison's JHS polling station at Roman Ridge, where a stationed uniformed police officer was attacked for questioning and directing some plain-clothed security operatives at the polling station to reposition themselves, CODEO stands by the account of its observer and is ready to cooperate with the Electoral Commission and the security agencies to undertake further investigation into the matter. So this is what the Commission sought to clarify today when they spoke to Nana Abrampa. And it became quite clear from Nana Abrampa's response that he himself was not on the scene, obviously, and that his account was a third-hand account, if you will, or the hearsay account of one of the CODEO observers who was there. And it seemed by the end of it that what he was describing wasn't a physical attack, more a verbal attack. That appears to be the clarification that the Commission has gleaned on this matter.
But, you know, we all thought that they were going to spend a bit more time than I think they did before the Commission, because if you look at the advertised time, this session was supposed to last for about an hour, but it's all ended. But they've turned in a number of reports. They've turned in quite a number of their reports. The latest one with the by-election, but other reports in past elections as well and by-elections, including some international awards. So it looks like on the surface of it, is CODEO, you know, trying to prove a point? Is CODEO reacting to some comments that they've heard others make, particularly with what Professor Miranda Greenstreet had to say? The Commission is now on a break. They will come back, everybody looking forward to seeing double.
Indeed. And I guess we are bound to hear one of either the Commission or its council asking Double whether or not he belongs to the invisible forces. That is bound to be a question that comes up, in addition to all the other things they will want to know about what happened on the day. So that's all ahead of us. But I think, much as this particular testimony of CODEO was short, it's also important, especially the documents that they've handed in, because the Commission chair, Justice Short, referred to those documents and said that they are all in relation to the general issues of electoral violence that they are interested in as a commission. And so they are going to peruse every document and see whether there is useful content there for their deliberations.
Kojo, let's go back to the IGP, David Asante-Apietu, who earlier appeared before the Commission to also testify. I think we ended on the fact that there are some 36 police officers under the control, if you like, the operational control of national security. But administratively, they are supposed to be under the police service. It doesn't appear to be so easy, and that was so clear when Professor Mensah Bonsu, you know, came through with her questions. The way she does it, it gives a lot more clarity. So it doesn't sound like the police service is really in charge of these men that they've loaned to national security after all.
Which is strange, but then again, I would have thought it wouldn't matter when it's a matter of a criminal investigation. If you're the police, you're the police. So whomever you want to investigate, you have the rights to invite them. If they don't attend your invitation, you have the right to arrest them. I'm curious to see why the IGP has chosen to write letters to the people to whom they've lent these officers, who have not responded to the letters, and as a result, the police have not acted. It seems a lot of inaction when the path ought to be quite clear. In spite of all the bureaucracy that we know exists, it shouldn't be difficult for the police to lay hands on any individual that they are interested in for an investigation. I'm a civilian, I don't belong to the police service, but they would pick me up if they wanted to ask me questions. It should be even easier when the people they are seeking to question are police officers under their command, under their administrative control, only on loan to national security. I'm surprised, I'm confused that these two letters have first of all not been responded to, and that the police have not been able to act in spite of the lack of response.
Let's talk about some of the everyday suspicions, the things that we hear and we talk about that happens within the police service. We hear the IGP himself talk about the fact that he's been on the same level in terms of, is it position?
Promotion,
for about 10 years. And we've heard about how some people have either been victimized, you are not promoted even when you're due, or you're transferred if you're seen acting in a situation where political activists are involved. But was he clear or not on this issue? Because everybody thinks that this happens within the service.
Now, Mr. Asante Apietu's testimony was so succinct in many, many instances. He went straight to the point. He said what he had on his mind. He was very diplomatic, and avoided being condemning of any particular body or institution or individual. However, there was a bit of inconsistency in his responses regarding whether or not the police are subject to political influence. You could tell that he did not wish to admit it, because it would admit that he, as an IGP, was taking political orders. So he didn't wish to admit it.
But he took us back to the Constitution. I mean, he took us to the roots. This is based on something that is legal. It's coming from the Constitution. So who is he to say anything contrary to what the Constitution? You're only satisfying something that is within the Constitution.
Except that the Constitution only talks about how a police officer, the police leadership is to be appointed. It doesn't talk about how they are to act once they are appointed. So the question of the political influence comes in when you are talking about how they act once they are appointed. And so he referred to the Constitution to just clarify the fact that this is how we get the job. We are appointed by political leaders. But he then further wished to suggest that, well, after we are appointed, we act according to the law. But there was something contradictory. So he said that there is proof that the police respond to all cases as the rules dictate, whether or not it's a political matter or not. So he's suggesting that, look, if you make a report, if you make a statement, the police will investigate, they will follow the rules, they will never deviate from them. But if that is true, then why was there a need, following the Ayawaso West Wuogon event, for him to inform all regional commanders that they must deal with these political cases as crimes? He said, these crimes are crimes. I'm quoting him. Okay, so why was there a need for him to tell them to do that if there was no problem? If the commanders have always dealt with crime according to the book, why was there a need for him to call them into an emergency meeting and tell them to deal with political crime as crime? So clearly there's a problem. Even by holding that meeting, he's admitting there's a problem. But he then seeks to say there is proof that they handle these cases impartially. That both statements can't be true. In
fact, he goes on to talk about the fact that when these violent attacks happen within the political parties, it's difficult for people to come forward. Sometimes when they're pursuing the case, they either write to withdraw, they're not willing to go on. in some cases when they're able to pursue it, the charges that come with it, really small punishment is not deterrent enough. That's where he agreed to another law that would be punishment enough.
Indeed, and I suppose this issue of people not wishing to come forward, it's something that you experience not only with political crimes, sometimes even sexual crimes. People don't want to be identified as victims, and so sometimes that is a hindrance to justice. But we're talking about when a crime has been reported or perhaps publicly, revealed, exposed on video, like we have in this case, and an investigation has begun, and then political influence subverts or diverts the investigation. That is something which he is suggesting does not happen. Yet he still had to instruct his regional commanders to treat all crimes as crimes.
Interesting, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah.
But, sorry, I was just going to say that's not the only interesting thing. There were so many other things he talked about. For example, he mentioned that the police could have carried out the operation that the national security went to do. He said they are fully trained to do it. They have a SWAT team. You see, that's another thing I talked about with you yesterday. The fact that national security has a SWAT team.
Yeah.
Why? The police has a SWAT team.
Yeah.
Why?
They've actually got two divisions from Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu's questioning. You realize that she talks about Alpha and Bravo being the two different arms of the SWAT within the police, and she put the question: couldn't they have done? Couldn't they have done the job that this so-called SWAT within the national security carried out? And that's where
the IGP confirmed that they could have. So again, we must ask ourselves: is there a need for the national security to have an armed force? Should they not rather focus on intelligence gathering, which is supposed to be their specialty? And then once they gather intelligence and there is a need for action, they then bring in those who are trained to take action to do it. What is it that makes a national security SWAT team better than a police SWAT team? We need to identify those differences and determine whether one is necessary in the presence of the other.
The IGP did not know the capacity that this national security SWAT has, obviously because he doesn't know the kind of training that they go through, even though he did say that they do go through some kind of training. But here's where he suggested rather diplomatically, and Professor Mensah also had to say that, that there was no need for this other SWAT team within the national security, which is crucial. Really, considering, boxing that up with the fact that information also doesn't flow. So national security would tell police what they want to tell them. They can carry out their operations anytime they want to do it. And when the question of, so this operation was going to be carried out very close to a polling station on an election day, should they have informed you? But that got a yes answer, which was good. Even though, the IGP would not go on to speak, he would just, in diplomatic language, simply say yes,
he believes very briefly and
just move on.
Yeah, and that diplomatic answer he gave was to the question of whether there was a need for another SWAT team at national security. His answer was, my suggestion would be against that. And Professor Mensah-Bonsu said, how very diplomatic of you.
Yeah.
And of course, Mr. Asante
I've got this, I'm worried a bit. So that if you've written twice to national security and all you want are your men, because these are originally your men. I mean, there's nothing like original because they are your men, your officers, who have gone to carry out a mission and you need them for questioning. But you've written twice and you haven't received any response. First of all, I'm asking, who wrote to who? And who is supposed to release these men? And why haven't the men been released? What can the IGP do is the bigger question. What can he do?
So I have a question. We now know that national security has a 1,000-man force. I don't know whether that includes the 36 from the police. But these 36 from the police, once they are seconded to national security, do they change their homes? Or do they still stay in police barracks? So why not just arrest them? I mean, you're investigating a crime. These are the suspects. Arrest them.
That's if you know that they have refused to appear before you?
You don't have to know that they've refused. You are writing letters to the person who supervises their work during the day. But you are investigating a crime, and these are your suspects.
ACP Azugu, is he under the Ghana Police Service?
He is an ACP.
He is a leader
police.
of the SWAT team.
Yes.
And these men the IGP is looking for are members of the SWAT team. And the man in charge of them is an ASP under the IGP, correct?
Yes. However, I mean, he only has command over them while they are on operations. They have been seconded to the national security apparatus. So it is whoever runs national security who has administrative authority over them. So I suspect the letters are going to someone above Azugu.
So let's look at what is above Mr. Azugu as they appeared before the commission. At least that's what we know.
The Director of Operations for National Security, Colonel Opoku.
Colonel Opoku obviously is not a police officer.
No. He's a retired military officer.
But the fact also that there is no memorandum of understanding. They're not working, the two institutions are not working according to any particular documents.
Yeah.
No, so there's nothing to make reference to.
And that is what the former IGP, Patrick Achampong, who's a member of the commission, suggested. He said, look, perhaps you should think about an MOU for every secondment. That just makes sense. If a footballer is being lent to another team, there's an MOU. There's an understanding of what you can and cannot do with my footballer because he remains mine. He's just playing for you for a period which you've paid for. So why is that not the case when state institutions lend out workers to other institutions? And it happens all the time. At the moment as we're speaking, Mr. Palmdetti, who is with the Immigration Service, is on secondment to the National Identification Authority. He's still a member of the Ghana Immigration Service. He still wears his uniform every day.
You're talking about Mr. Palmdetti?
Yes, that's right. But I'm giving an example of one institution sending someone on secondment to another state institution. So you see, the question is the Immigration Service not interested in anything Mr. Palmdetti will be doing while he's at the Identification Authority? Will he not be coming back to Immigration Service afterwards? So are they not interested in any training, any capacity building, any missions and projects that he will generally be involved in, and whether or not that will affect his ability to come back and be an effective immigration officer? If, for example, some of the work he does at National Identification Authority creates a conflict of interest in immigration matters, should they not know so that when he comes back, they will not assign him to such jobs? You know, I'm using Mr. Palmdetti as an example because he came to my mind. Perhaps they have an MOU. But that is what should happen. That is the standard operating procedure. And the police ought to do that with every individual that they second. Whether
apparently, there's a certain spirit that is coordinating the work of the national security and the police as we speak. But if...
Spirit?
Yes.
We can't work by spirit.
True.
We can't work by spirit.
True.
We are not policing principalities. We are policing human beings. So we need to work, you know, with paper, with evidence. We can't pretend that you know, every person who holds a position of authority is trustworthy. So as long as there is a spirit of cooperation, we don't need to sign anything. We don't need to agree on anything. What if the good person that you originally agreed with is replaced by a bad person who wants to abuse the system, and there's no paper to lock him in terms of his behavior?
So there's an interim report from the police. Finally, there's something that they have done following the violence at A.W.W West. And the IGP handed that report over to the commission. What I didn't see coming was the fact that the commissioners rather very quickly went through a bit of the document that they had received. Professor Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu brought on board the fact that in this interim report, Kojo, there is the statement about the key. There is the statement about the key and the Mahindra vehicle or vehicles.
That's right.
Yesterday, when Benjamin Ayite-Tego appeared, he consistently talked about this key and the vehicles as well. The police officers that had appeared before the commission in the past, nobody made mention of this. And if you listen to the tone of the professor, You know, to think that this was in their own interim report, but nobody made reference to it. I mean, it was curious, wasn't it, Kojo?
Yes, and you could tell how irritated she was. Professor Mensa Bonsu, you can well imagine with the depth of her experience dealing with security matters, you know, in international settings, as well as, you know, with the Ghana police. She knows what the training is. She knows what the regulations say. So when she sees them blatantly violating them in front of a commission of such magnitude, you can imagine that she would certainly get upset. Not just upset, you know, personally, but professionally. She would be affronted by the fact that the police, you know, and these are senior police men who have appeared, have just simply omitted an important detail of what happened on the crime scene. It would appear that they're seeking to sell their version of events, and that does not instill trust. One of the outcomes of this should be that somehow the Ghanaian can trust the police a bit better. But some of these things set that agenda back.
The commission is coming back after a 15 minutes or so break. And a man that a lot of people have referred to as the star witness, if you like, because his name has come up quite a number of times, Ernest Nana Kumia, also known as Double. We're expecting that he will be before the commission as an eyewitness. And so we will take you to the commission when they start with the next eyewitness due to appear.